republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
They're making it look a little bit quick.
Yep.
Thank you all for coming. Thank you. Roll call.
Mr. Bruno?
Here, still.
Mr. Irwin?
Here.
Mr. Barber is excused. Mr. McDonald is excused. Deputy Supervisor, Mr. Douglas.
Here.
Confidential Secretary to the Board, Pamela Barber. Courtney Tatro, Water and Sewer Superintendent. Michael Farrell, Highway Superintendent. Robert Winup, Zoning Officer. Zoning and Building Officer. Dave Gillette, Dog Control Officer. Yes, Bill and Carl Bags, Matt LeClaire, John Ryan, and our attorney, Matt Packard.
And Diane Miller, our town clerk. Thank you. Okay, we need a motion and discussion to accept the reports from all departments, water, sewer, Valtor, highway, town clerk, dog control, youth department. What's that? Yes, Mr.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second. There you go. Motion by Mr. Bruno. No. Second by? Opposite. Opposite. Okay. Mr. Irwin. Take on your math there. Okay, I got you. Mr. Irwin. Second by Mr. Bruno. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Okay, number 5, a motion to approve the minutes of the town board regular meeting of April 26, 2021. No motion. Mr. Bruno. Yes. Second. Mr. Irwin. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Great. We're on a roll here. Community input. I believe we have Matt St. Clair.
Yes.
Yes.
It's your floor, bud.
You're
You're
right,
up.
bud.
Okay, thank you for having me. I won't try to take up too much of your time. I have been in contact with Mr. Mike Farrell about this. It's not really a situation, I mean, every problem's got a solution, so that's what I'm here for, is to see if we can find a solution. Mr. Matthew Fabio actually just helped me sign a piece of property down on Brain Hollow Road Extension, and the Dajnaw's old property. Technically, it is Brain Hollow Road. Brain Hollow Road stops about 200 feet shy of the property line. I have gotten an estimate of almost $20,000 to extend that road to where I can start my driveway to go back to my property. I've got no problem doing that. I will have a problem if I go ahead and spend that money and then the other gentleman that owns the other piece of property down there decides he wants to start using that road to get to his property. On my dime, essentially. If we can come up with a solution, I mean, I'm not looking for the town to take care of the road, I'm not looking for the town to plow the road, any of that stuff. Maybe just take that trail and widen it just enough and drop some ones and dust down through there so that way it can be a little bit more accessible to me and it's not gonna cost me 20 grand. If we can't do that, then maybe we can, work something out as far as, I don't know, I mean, I do plan on putting a building back there. Big garage. I do plan on putting a house back there, so I do plan on essentially personally developing the land. I know I've talked to Bob a few times about what I have in store for back there, and we're on the same page as far as it being okay to pass, essentially. But I guess that's what brings me here now is that section of road. I know that there's a couple other houses on there, and I know that when the highway came through, population on that road was not high enough for them to build a bridge over it, essentially, so it kind of got abandoned. Well, now we're ready to unabandon it, I guess we could say.
So is your property, I'm sorry, Matt, is your property now on Route 22 as it starts? You start going down the road?
It is not. The address, it is not. The address to the property, as of right now, is 0 Brain Hollow Road. I would assume it to be the very first house on Brain Hollow Road because it starts essentially, should start right there at the interstate and then work its way all the way down to the other end. The paved road part only goes maybe 200 feet?
Yeah, somewhere around.
Give or take 200 feet. I mean, I'm not, like I said, I'm not looking for you guys to take care of it, maintain it, do all that stuff. I'm just looking for maybe a little help shared cost on the fact that, the road's supposed to be there. Essentially, on all the tax maps that I've looked at, the Clinton County maps, down at the government center, it's all supposed to be there, but it's not there, which is not a big deal to me. I don't have no problem keeping my piece on the whole thing. It's just, once I got that estimate of $20,000 to put that in there, brought me to this meeting.
And what you said too was, you wouldn't mind if you fixed the road up, but then you'd want to fix it up and have somebody out.
Yeah, essentially, I mean, it's just past the old train tracks that go down through there. There's a lot of four-wheelers and side-by-side people that ride that. You know, essentially, that trail is not my land. I don't want to sound out of term or not, but I feel like if I spend that $20,000 to increase that road, that's my road. In layman's terms, essentially. I know it's not, but I guess if I'm spending that kind of money to do something like that, that's where I feel like I might be putting a gate up, essentially. I know I probably cannot do that, which I probably will not do that until it gets to my property. I guess I'm just looking at the town to see if there's anything that we can do as a town to accommodate me in this situation, I guess. Essentially.
Mike, because he talked to you, I mean, you.
Well, here's this is all goes back to the Henry Desno lawsuit, the Brandon, which we spent, I don't know how many years of money in court. I cannot spend taxpayers' money on a road that's not ours. I mean, proper way, he would have to, if he so chooses, to spend the money and make that a town road, put a turnaround in, down to his property, and then convey it back to the town, and then we could plow it. But it doesn't sound like, I don't believe that's what you want to do.
Yeah, I really don't need you to plow it. I mean, I got means to plow it and everything. I mean,
But if we build it, it becomes a town road, we can't do a personal road for you.
well, and I understand that. So if we decide we want to make this officially town road and extend it, obviously more power to you. You guys plow it right away. I mean, essentially, but you know, that's the gray area there is where do we compromise on? I mean, I'm not asking it to be a personal road. There is another piece of property that's down there that the gentleman cannot get to because there's no road.
Matt, have you asked that gentleman if he's interested in sharing the cost of,
I have not. I'm hoping that he just forgets about it and wants to sell it to me.
what's that?
I'm hoping he forgets about it and wants to sell it to me.
Okay.
To be honest with
Don't
you.
forget you're on camera.
But I have not approached him, no. I just closed on the land on Friday, so, you know, I just got in there this past weekend and started to get the ball rolling, but, you know, I essentially would like to have something up in, you know, CO signed off by Christmas.
What should we end up doing for Henry Dyke now over there? Nothing.
Gotta reach a certain.
Now, all comes down to, we ended up, that fairway will never be paved or whatever. The only thing we have to do is, we gotta go over some potholes, that's what, and then he had to spend, it's been a long time, like $1 million.
Yeah, if he had over $1 million as assessment and 1.3 million, essentially, then then the town would
Plow it, but we don't ever have to pave it or anything. I don't know how, once it gets to $1 million, you explain to people, but that's what Henry had settled on, so.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but Don Biggs, and this goes back a long way,
Yeah.
is we had said that if they wanted to take and build the road to town specs, then the town would take it over, correct? But then they made an agreement that said that if Bob, that if they can put in up to between $1 million and $3 million.
I think it was 1.3 million. I think if they got to 1.3 million dollars in assessment, then that would, I don't believe the town was going to.
It's in writing
Yeah,
someplace,
it
correct?
certainly is. I have the decision on.
We do have it,
Right,
okay.
so-
Yeah, but I mean, it's, I think I'd be speaking out of turn. I just can't
Okay,
recall
yeah.
the exact language, but there was a total of, was it 13 lots, Mike, or 19 lots?
19, I
I
think.
guess it was like 19 lots there on that Fairway Drive that were going to be developed, and however they came up with the 1-point-something million assessed value, I guess at the time, they you know, so much per thousand per acre a lot.
That applies to both sides of 87.
The same road.
No,
It's the same road though, right?
but it applies, Yeah, Henry was trying to argue that Brain Hall went through.
Brain Hall Road
If
extension.
you look at the old map, there was a path through there, but everybody associated with
called the
Brain
Jeep
Hall.
Trail.
But
Jeep Trail. So, the way I'm seeing it, Matt, is that if we didn't do it for them, it's hard for us to do it them. They took us to court for 5 years, we spent
Which is
$60,000.
fine, I mean, I guess I'm looking for an answer on which way I can go. I'm not gonna go in there and cut your trees down, because they're your trees. They're not mine. They're not,
I think it's an
No.
abandoned road, as far as I remember.
Yeah, I'd have to look at that decision and figure out what the specifics of it is, because off the top of my head, I
Yeah,
couldn't.
Mr. Dupree abandoned it way back before we were born, probably.
that all started with the North Road, that's,
Yeah.
and I get that, you know, essentially, it was an old Jeep trail essentially across there.
Yep,
But there's 200 feet of paved road that got to that first residence on that road, so essentially, we knew that it was there. I mean,
did we plow that?
we do the 200 feet, yeah. We back in, out 22, we plow out.
That was part of the
And that,
deal.
that's a town road.
Right.
There's no arguing that 200 feet, but it's from there across.
it's there,
Not
the
property,
extra,
I think it's Kennedy that-
maybe 300 feet, 200
Yeah.
feet further to get to my driveway, because I was able to, it's been a long time since the property's even been surveyed, I would say. I did find the old barbed wire fence that turned into a stone fence that stops right underneath the power lines that go over. I'm going to assume that that's where my property line starts. For the most part, I mean, yes, I will have it surveyed at some point, but that's essentially where I'm starting driveway, you know, rough driveway essentially. I mean, it's a good 200-300 feet up to where we gotta go. I mean, I've got no problem clearing and doing what I need to do. If the town is not able to help me actually, or if the town is not able to do it for me, maybe they could help me with what I need. Any kind of miscellaneous material. I mean, I don't know what we have for ones and dust. I mean, I don't know if I can put that on the account and then use all of my labor. I mean, I'm willing to work here if,
I think Matt that, and Matt is, you know, the expert, we can't take town material and put it on that road because then we'd be opening a can of worms, then we'd have to do it for somebody else, but Matt,
I mean, we can't use town property or funds on private property. That's the 99% of the time rule. So I gotta figure out, it sounds like you own this 200-foot stretch.
I do not own this 200-foot
So who
stretch.
owns the 200-foot stretch of road that we're talking about?
If you look at,
It was
the
abandoned.
Clinton County tax map, it shows Brain Hollow Road going right to the edge of the north line.
We'll have to figure out.
That,
when
tax
quick
maps
thing.
are not necessarily correct.
And I get that, I
Yeah, so
definitely get that.
if it was abandoned at some, there's gotta be a document abandoned at some point, with the meets and balances figure. That'll tell us, that's where we gotta start, and then I gotta look at this lawsuit.
Yeah, you have to look at, because it's considered the same part of the road. It was the Brain Hall Road extension that went over to Henry Dash, now it's through the Northway. It's a dirt road at the time, then the Northway came in. So whatever they considered in that lawsuit is gonna be the same thing that he's.
Yeah, and I'm happy to look at it, try to figure something
Yeah,
out.
can you give us a couple of weeks, come back to the next meeting?
it would take that long, Matt, because this was a long, drawn-out process.
Yeah.
Don Vick was
It was
the
5 years.
attorney, and I forget who Mr. Dashnaw had for an attorney.
Matt Norfolk.
Yes.
Matt
Yeah.
Norfolk, I
Yeah.
like talking.
And so, and they went back and forth and back and forth, so for us to give you a real, concrete answer, Matt will have to do some research. Because, we don't wanna tell you yes or no or something that we can do when we really can't.
Right, which is fine. Do we have any objections to me going in there and starting to do what I need to do to get back there?
Matt, what does it say on your deed?
Is there a right of way?
Yeah, what does it show for access to your lot?
It says that there is 100 and something feet on Brain Hollow Road.
It's a right of way that's deeded.
Is what the deed, is what the old deed said. I haven't read the new deed, or the deed that I signed off on, that she signed off on recently, but the government center has, I mean, the guy couldn't even really read it because the language in it was so old term that he was like, I really don't understand some of the words that they're trying to say. But it did say that the access to the land was on Brain Hollow Road.
But theoretically, who owns it? I mean, we can't give a right of way if we don't own it, then Mike, do you recall me?
Now, all I know is that we ended at 200 feet or whatever that measurement.
Whatever that measure
Yeah.
is.
But that 200 feet, that's.
But that doesn't get us to Mr.
That
St.
doesn't
Clair
get us
or Mr. I believe it's Kennedy. That's gotta
Yeah,
be
it is
other-
Bruce
Kennedy.
Yeah. He's the property right in front of me, essentially towards 22.
Right.
My advice would be to wait till we get some things cleared up before you move too much. But I mean, that's pretty much up.
Yeah, I mean, if the town has abandoned that chunk, and we can't, even if they want to, the town couldn't give the permission to do anything on it. Because it gets abandoned, and then, I'm kind of thinking out loud, but I think then the ownership reverts to either one of the landowners near there, or whoever used to own it. So I don't think the town, if it's actually been abandoned, can say, yeah, go clear this, so I don't think the town has any right
I
to
know
tell you to do that.
Donnie Lemire owns on
On the south side.
on the south side of it. So I don't know if his property line is gonna come up to the center of where that path used to be, or if it comes up to the power lines that are right there. I mean, the power
Yeah, so
lines
we're,
that.
we're probably not gonna have a great answer until that gets surveyed. Because that, when the surveyor does it, they'll shoot a meets and bounds, and they'll go back and search the property records and figure out ownership lines. And based on the ownership in those deeds, they'll be able to shoot a meets and bounds and figure out who actually owns the 200 feet portion of what you're talking about.
Okay. All right,
That's-
which
With how busy they are, that's not gonna be the quickest process in the world. So I guess the best advice from the town to you is proceed at your own risk for taking anything down. You may have a landowner that comes out and says, hey, this is mine, it got abandoned, don't do this.
Yeah, and I've talked to Donnie, he's on board with whatever I need to do to get any trees out on that path on his side of his side of the driveway, essentially, I would say. I have not talked to Mr. Kennedy about anything on the other side, which I'm on the other side of the power lines, so I'm gonna assume that he doesn't come over that far, because this is almost right in Donnie's front yard, for the most part. I mean, essentially, Donnie's driveway kind of goes down that path and curves into his house, so I'm kind of going down his driveway to get essentially to my driveway, which I've got no problem doing it. I just wanted to bring it to the town's attention that I'm moving in. Essentially. So, I mean, as long as we're all on the same page, that's all that matters to me, essentially.
Yeah, I guess like Matt said, the only time, Matt, that it would be is if it happened to be on somebody else's property. And you know, they say, well, I don't want you cutting trees or doing this, and I mean, that's out of our hands anyways.
Right.
Did you get it from Harry Haynes?
What's that?
Did you buy it from Harry Haynes?
About from Henry.
Henry.
Yeah, it was Henry's lot.
Because Harry's had a part of a subdivision 4 that was back in there coming off the Glenwood subdivision.
Oh, okay.
It went almost to that road too. But
Okay.
it was a big, he never ended up developing it.
I mean, there's a 4-wheeler trail that goes off
Yeah,
that
yeah.
way, but.
I've been on it.
Yeah.
Oh, you did.
Yep.
It's a show
Right, so I just wanted to thank you for, hearing me out and what I had to say essentially, and, if somebody just wants to reach out and let me know.
Yep.
So as far as surveying goes, is that something that you guys are gonna take care of?
No.
No.
Okay. Okay.
No, but
I
they
guess-
will definitely notify us after they're done. They notify you when they do a survey for the map?
No, he'll just get a map and show where, Matt, you don't have a copy, well, you said you went down to the county and you have a copy of the deed. and-
I have it.
But
I
the
have
language
it.
is, okay,
Yeah, I have it somewhere, I have not
Okay.
gotten the new deed in
Yeah.
yet, no.
okay.
If I have to make a go path to get back there, then essentially that's what I'm gonna have to deal with. I just, I assumed that from all the maps that I had looked at, it shows Grand Hollow Road going all the way to the interstate, which I could understand it stopping where it did because there was no other residences down there. There was no reason for it.
Yeah.
Probably a good thing we didn't do it because Henry would have built apartments and left it right down there. But, I guess we're at that bridge and we're crossing it again.
Yeah. I remember it went back to 1954 or something with Mr. Biggs, and like we said, we had to really go around for 5 years with Henry, so, just do whatever you gotta do, and we'll try to do some research, and if you find something else, come back and let us know.
And we'll just exchange information and
Absolutely.
stay on the same page, I guess.
Yeah.
And Matthew, you want a copy of the decision?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. All right, thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
You don't have to stick around, feel free to leave too.
Okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
We're gonna
Okay,
talk about you.
okay, number 7, that's passing of the local law. Before we make a resolution and a discussion, John, you had a question, and if you want to ask Matt now, he'll give you his legal advice on it.
Yeah, I brought it up at the public hearing, Matt. I guess my question is, if I'm trying to interpret this thing, does it apply just to highways, bridges, culverts, and so on, or does it apply to things around the town hall or any place?
Generally, it should be anything owned by a municipality, that's kind of the intent. And that's always been the rule in the state for most part, and it's mostly been in case law where you can't hold the municipality liable for a crack in a sidewalk or a hole somewhere unless they're on prior notice of it. So this basically just says who you have to give the written notice to. I don't know that it was always written notice, but that was always the best proof. So this is basically just saying you can't sue the town of Peru for a hole in the sidewalk unless the right people have received written notice of it and a chance to correct the defect. Which is why once we get, notice that things over the walking trail, it's dangerous, and those kind of things, I say, put something up, do something to make it obvious, because once we're on notice of it, then we're liable if something else happens. Until you're on notice of it.
Well, it talks a lot about culverts. How about if Mike, he's in the position, or isn't how about if a culvert isn't properly inspected and could be on any road? And I'm driving along and the road collapses, I go into the hole. Does that protect the town?
I don't know. I don't know what that's going to get into inspection rules and how often those have to be inspected and maintained. So this isn't the end all be all to this rule. This is more of the obvious dangerous condition of things that don't have to necessarily be inspected. Sidewalks, steps, things of those nature where you can't just
I hate to tell you, but that's not the way I read it. It says highway, bridge, culvert being defective, out of repair, unsafe, dangerous, etc. It means a lot more than sidewalks. I just can't understand how a law this could be legal, to be honest with you. For the town to escape liability when somebody has to provide it in writing, it's ridiculous.
I think the theory is how can the town fix it if they don't know about it?
They should be liable, period. They should be doing the normal inspections and their job. They shouldn't be able to escape liability.
Sure, but say if you do an inspection on Monday, like you're supposed to, a dangerous condition develops on a Wednesday.
All right, well then you probably wouldn't be liable, but maybe he hasn't inspected it in 3 years.
Well, then that's different though. So if you haven't followed, that's my point. If you haven't followed those rules and done the correct inspections and proper maintenance, that's a totally different thing. You've got to check all the boxes. So this just basically says for things that pop up or random events, if you're not on prior written notice, you can't be held liable. And that has been the rule for as long as I can remember being taught this in torts in law school, or that was 15 years ago. But I think insurance companies are kind of saying, hey, get this out there as a codified law. And my understanding is just about every municipality is moving forward with something very similar to this right now.
I Googled it and I only found one county that's that came up as prior notification of defects.
Which county was it,
I don't recall, but I didn't spend a lot of time. I admit that I was in a hurry, but I only saw one county that popped up. I didn't see any towns pop up.
Google doesn't mean that it's not.
Yeah, we
Well, I
like to
know.
be front runners.
But
In the case of...
if I was on the board, I know I wouldn't vote for this law, but anyway.
In the case of John talking earlier, we've had discussions on Fuller Street. That's in the minutes, it's on the record, so that will count as prior notice.
It would count as prior notice, but it's not, this law specifically says we have to give notice to. So notice and written notice pursuant to this are a little bit different. But that's why I said a lot of times in these meetings, when somebody brought up by the public, hey, now we know about this. You gotta deal with it. You gotta put a cone up, you gotta put a sign up. We're now on notice of a dangerous condition. This says it's gotta be a little bit further than that. There's gotta be written notice to the specific person. I think it's a clerk. So there can be made, so a record can be changed of when notice was given. And it's to avoid the silly frivolous laws, when somebody trips and falls and says, hey, there was a crack in the sidewalk, and maybe there wasn't, or, it's that kind of stuff they're trying to avoid with this. I think that's the intent.
No offense, but you keep saying I think. It doesn't sound like you've really read this law.
I have, I didn't know I was gonna be quizzed on it. I'm happy to sit and read it now if you want.
But
Section 2 is what he's basically
And, well, even the last sentence, the last sentence in the section 2 refers to almost any town property, right? But then it goes into, highways, bridges. No civil action shall be maintained against any town or highway superintendent for damages or injuries to a person or property sustained by reason of any highway, bridge, culvert being defective, out of repair, unsafe, dangerous. Doesn't say anything about last minute. It just basically says it's not in repair. It's,
But if it comes down to a lawsuit, they're not gonna go by this single law
well,
right
all
here.
right.
They're gonna be.
Are you,
going
excuse me,
into-
this person is not part of the town board. I'm not questioning her.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Do you do routine inspections on your culverts and bridges?
What's that?
Do you do routine inspections?
We are not authorized, the state is the only one who inspects bridges,
The state does?
New York State, even Davern Road, that was county bridge. When we were having trouble, we were on Rondack, that had to be inspected by New York State. Has to be a certified bridge engineer.
Right. What about culverts?
I'm not an engineer for culverts.
No, you're not.
That's why we have Peter Gibbs looking at that. I can't, as far as the culvert collapsing, we passed telegraph, for example.
Okay.
What was the time frame where those had to be replaced?
Mhm.
We could not pin him down, really, because
Right.
nobody wants, I mean,
Nobody
you
wants
could say
to
5
do-
years, and it could collapse in 3 years, or it could say 5 years, and it could collapse not for 15 years.
Right.
So, the only time I've ever seen this come in was, I believe, was out from here, somebody tripped on a piece of sidewalk. And at that time, we all assumed, and myself too, because it was a state road, the sidewalks were state. So we went back and forth with the conversation with the state. And once the sidewalks are in on a state road, they are actually town sidewalk. And our right of, the only thing we have right of way is that sidewalk. On the backside, it's the property owner. On the roadside, it's the state has all the right of way. We ended up, that's why this was fixed in conjunction with the front steps out there. This section. We had
I know
prior-
over on the Fuller Road where we were having a washout in one of the culverts one time, and you put cones out and stuff, and we were worried about the bus going through.
Yeah, you know, if I see something, then
Absolutely.
we make a call, we get Peter Gibbs involved. But now you've got the Army Corps of Engineers, I mean, I can't be responsible, I don't think I should be. I mean, I do my thing, but
Yeah.
I'm not an engineer to tell you.
We had
When
cones,
culvert's
you
gonna
put
collapse
cones
or
and
road's
signs
gonna collapse.
out, you put cones and signs out and stuff, I
We
remember.
can only do what we know about, we take action, but it doesn't happen overnight.
Right, so if we're aware of a dangerous condition, you mark it and do something
Yeah.
about it. That's a big thing.
I mean, common sense to me has gotta come into play here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any other, John? I'm sure.
No, I know, I'm not a lawyer, but I just, doesn't seem
Okay.
very kosher to me. but-
Yep. Thank you. Then we got a resolution, need a motion.
I make a motion.
Mr. Bruno? Mr. Irwin?
Passing of local law number 1, 2021, providing for prior notice. Whereas a public hearing having been held on the proposed local law on May 10, 2021, and whereas the board has before it proposed local law, which states that it is the intention of the Peru Town Board to protect the health and safety of the community by requiring actual written notice of defective and hazardous conditions existing on town-owned or maintained properties. The receipt of actual written notice will enhance the town's ability to remedy dangerous conditions on all properties under the management and care of town personnel in an expeditious and safe manner. Now be it resolved that local law number 1 of 2021, prior notice is hereby adopted. Mr. Earl,
Yes.
Mr. McDonald, excused, Mr. Barber, excused, Mr. Douglas,
Yes.
and Mr. Bruno.
Yes.
I think though, John, and I'm not belaboring and stuff, but if you read, I mean, that, it says that, you know, that by requiring actual written notice. I mean, if you notice something and you give us something in writing, I mean, that pretty well is gonna.
Well, I know,
apply to it.
I'm gonna do my best to inform the public that they better do it in writing.
Well, I would think, yeah, that's a good thing.
The average person calls up and says, hey, Mike, there's very few people put things, I would never think of putting something in writing. I
Well,
just tell Mike and trust that he would do the job, you know, so, but.
And that's good, I'm glad that you will inform them, John, thank you, and Sue would put that in writing. Thank you. All right, number 8. We need a motion and a second to accept the resignation of Darlene Gregoire as the code office secretary.
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Irwin,
I'll second it.
Mr. Bruno.
A resolution accepting the resignation of Darlene Gregoire from the Town of Peru Codes Office effective May 6, 2021. Whereas the Peru Town Codes and Zoning Officer has recommended that Town Board accept the resignation of Darlene Gregoire offered April 29, 2021 and effective May 6, 2021. Therefore, be it resolved, the Peru Town Board agrees with the recommendation of the Town of Peru Town Codes and Zoning Officer to accept the resignation of Darlene Gregoire and thanks her for her past service to the Town of Peru. Her resignation was effective May 6, 2021, and be it resolved that this resolution shall take effect immediately. Mr. Barber is excused. Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Mr. Douglas?
Yes.
Mr. Irwin?
Yes.
And Mr.
Okay, and Pam, I would ask you as the confidential secretary to write a letter to Mrs. Gregoire thanking her for her work here. Thank you. That was a letter that we got from Darlene. She accepted employment at it.
Thank you, Pam.
Okay, I think number 9.
You can skip.
That's yours,
I
Courtney.
don't have anything tonight.
Nothing yet? No applications or nothing, Courtney?
No, you can skip it tonight.
Okay.
Table.
All right. So, number 10. This is a resolution changing the code secretary position to a part-time position. We spoke with Bob, and so I need a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Bruno, I'll second it.
And Lottie's even there, they'll be pooping us up.
All right. Sorry.
A resolution authorizing the changing of hours for the codes and zoning secretary to part-time at 29 hours, making it a non-competitive position. Whereas the town board has agreed that a change in hours for the codes and zoning office would be beneficial to reduce the cost and accrual of compensatory time for that position. This would also change the position to non-competitive according to the civil service rules. And be it resolved that this resolution shall take effect immediately. Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Mr. Irwin?
Yes.
Mr. Douglas?
Yes.
So now she'll be working the same amount of hours as Bob?
Bob, you keep the guy in after, okay? All right. Number 11, that's the purchase of, it's a discussion, purchase of the mini excavator. You, Courtney and Mike, you had talked about it, where are we with that?
Yeah, Mike and I have been looking, Mike's got a few prices on some newer machines. I think we're in agreement, I know Mike offered to go 50/50, I don't know if they're still.
Yep,
Is that what you're gonna go 50/50?
yep.
So right now, I think you're still waiting on a couple prices, but a new machine is anywhere from around, depending on the size, we get 90 to 111, 112,000. A used machine, again, depending on the size and how many hours, if we go low hours, 75 to 85,000 probably. So I guess we need to know, do we want to look at a new one, a used one? The benefit with the new is if Mike can, he can use his CHIPS money, and then I can make payments to pay him back. He cannot use his CHIPS money for a used machine.
I'm in more favor of a new machine only because them type of machines take such a beating that a used machine may not be looked over 100% and you may end up with some issues down the road.
Yeah, I mean, a new one we get a warranty.
Right.
New one's a lease to own.
this was a strict purchase.
And the lease own now, just so you know, we went through this with the great out, you're actually purchasing it. So
Yes.
Yeah.
it just, depending on how many
You make
payments, I mean, we can do it that way too. I don't know if I can write it off for the chips, because we only make a payment a year, and chips, it'd only be a one-time deal. So for me, for going through the chips, it's easier for me to just call up, say, send that machine. The other issue we're gonna have, because everybody knows anybody's trying to buy a car or anything, everything is backed up. Like the Volvo machine that I got one price from is one of the equipment dealers. They got two coming in, which they can make work. They put stuff on we need. If we decide to go with that Volvo, but we decided to order it, then you're talking 2022 for you're gonna see a machine. I just talked to John Deere today. They're at least 6 months minimum to get a machine. They did have two that are out on rental, but then that becomes used. So that kind of puts that away. So I gotta get a kind of a feeling with the board which way they wanna go before I go much further, or Courtney and I go much further. I know I talked to Mel, last week for $17,000 difference on the Volvo with the used cap we were looking at. Speak up now if I'm saying wrong, he kind of was swinging, same way it was for $17,000 difference. You got a brand new machine with the full warranty, so.
My only question is, do you want to wait till 22 to get it?
On these two, they got, or the Volvo they got, two coming in right now. Nobody spoke for them, that's as of last week. So,
And
if
that,
you want
I
me
mean,
to
we're
speak
not-
for one of them, I can call in the morning, but
Where's your Volvo, where's your service work coming out of?
it'd be out of Latham, same thing, grade all comes out of, actually the paper, we just bought from Fuller, so.
Who does that, Mike?
It'd be, it used to be Vantage Equipment, now Alto, but it'd be out of Latham, their main office, Syracuse, they got several offices.
But you have the truck to,
But that's where the great all is, right out of Latham.
What you're looking at, it's got a thumb, knuckle, what else?
That's thumb or wrist, and, the original price was a little higher, because we wanted to see if for like Frost, if they even offered a hammer, and it does, that was 18,000, but that would be 129 complete with the hammer, but we could take the hammer off, and it'd be 111 and change.
Came with a digging bucket and a grading bucket also.
Yeah, and a hydraulic thumb.
so which one were you looking at when you were going for the?
It didn't,
Courtney? Which one were you looking at, then the one with the hammer and stuff, the 129, with that, all the,
I mean, the hammer's something you can get down the road, right?
Yeah, we could always add that down the road.
okay, so you're talking,
I'd like to see what Cat comes in at.
Yeah.
I'd like to at least.
I did call Cat, but I lost him mid-sentence. He was out in, somewhere in Vermont, in the mountains, and, I called the main office again. They tried to reach out to him, they couldn't get him either, so they're gonna have to call me back.
Yeah.
This is a state contract price, right?
This is national contract.
okay.
It's
So
Sourcewell. It's a
I say a new
39,
one, I don't know. about you guys.
39.1%. It's just what we got our loader off, our new loader.
Yeah. And you're comfortable with the 50/50? You feel
Yeah.
like you're gonna?
I'll use up sidewalks and actually if you do any ditching and like subdivisions that are tight, the smaller machine would work better than the great all or bigger excavator.
What about trailering it? I mean, you've got a trailer, a smaller trailer.
Yeah. It'd probably have to go in the equipment, depending on which model we go
Yeah,
with.
depends how heavy we go.
So we can't really give you guys a motion to say, go ahead.
No, we're just looking, I think, more of a direction.
Okay.
Direction.
If the board feels they'd rather spend the extra money, get something newer under warranty, then we're gonna focus.
I think we're in favor of.
We're gonna focus that direction.
Right.
And we'll narrow down our size.
Because like Craig says, I mean, you buy a used equipment and a lot of that isn't been used and.
Yeah, it's just,
How long is the warranty good for on yours?
Say
I'm sure you can get it extended too.
Yeah,
Doesn't say.
you can get it where they do everything. I mean, there's
How expensive is that, Mike, that extended warranty?
The extended warranty, it's up there, but the problem is, it's like our new motor. They suggested, because it's got air, is to keep it shut, because there's 3 computers in that cab. And to work on anything now, even the new truck, you gotta have the guy that goes to the school, you gotta have a computer system. We started out when we had Paul with computers, just for example, with our first 2 Freightliners, and we got set up. Those programs were $560 a year. And Paul was pretty good at it, but he wasn't a computer whiz. Thank God we had Scott at that time to work with him. But then everything changes. Now they get more technical, so those programs are gone and we just don't have anybody to do it. And to get set up again, unless you've got a certified mechanic that really has been this, basically college, you know, to run that stuff.
Yeah.
Because even to put the injectors in the truck, you know, you put the damn code off the injector into the computer before you put it in the machine or it won't work. That's the technology, unfortunately. Basically, they don't want you to work on it.
Yeah.
Does that cover,
I mean, other than changing a hydraulic liner or a brake line or something like that.
Is there a deduction or is it a flat, I mean, they cover it all?
It depends what you want to spend. As far as the maintenance,
Yes.
yeah, the more you have them do, obviously, the more it costs.
but they still have a warranty to start with.
Right.
The extended warranty's down the road. You don't have to really worry about that.
But I mean, I
We're
can
all
price it.
agreement for a new one, you, Mel?
Yeah. Yeah. But, look,
When you look at our back trucks, you know, we buy them used, they're fairly good shape, but we take a chance, you know, we had to rebuild the water pump.
Yeah.
I think I put 15,000 in the truck that year, then this past year I had to buy all new pans for underneath the water tank, because they were out.
But you knew who had the back truck.
Yeah, and it was taken care of, it's just, it's a
Right, I mean, it wears out.
2006, I think, or 15.
Just the job that it does,
Yeah, yeah.
I think the mini excavator is gonna come in real handy for both of you guys. I think it's a good investment. It's gonna save us money down the road for rentals and stuff. I think it's a goal, but,
At some point, I mean, that backhoe's got some mileage on it, so, you know, that's gonna be.
Yeah, my hopes of the future is if we have a mini excavator, maybe we trade the backhoe in for a skid steer. Because then I'll have a machine with a front bucket, so he has loaders not available, or backfilling when we're doing digging, and then we wouldn't need the backhoe anymore, we can trade
Once
that
you
in.
get the excavator, you'll have some idea how much you need to, you know, backhoe, or whether you do or don't, down the road, figure it out.
right?
Good enough.
You got an answer? Good?
Yeah.
Ready to roll? Okay, number 12, I think Courtney there.
11? Oh, 12, no. I was thinking about this, I wish I would have thought about it sooner, but with Sunrise Drive all dug up right now with the sewer project, when they came across the water line, it's only 1.5 inch water line down to the wastewater facility. I do know coming up in the future with our new equipment, we're going to be using more water, I think now's the time to run a larger water line down there before they pave that road. 4 or a 6, I don't think you're gonna have much price difference if you go to a 6, then we can have a fire hydrant down there, which will provide fire protection if we ever did have an incident, but also assist us with washing down tanks and stuff.
Who does the installation? Them guys? Or you guys?
It could be a change order on the project, if it's something we're interested in, you know, I would have AES start looking at it.
Can we do a change order, water and sewer? Will it work that way, okay?
What's that now?
Because it says sewer project, can we throw a water
No,
line?
that's still fine, yeah.
Okay. I'm totally,
But I'm just saying,
I'm
now's
totally
the time to
saying
do
yes.
it.
I'm gonna totally say yes
I
to this.
hate to see we go to this next project,
100%.
and we got a brand new paved road, and we come through and dig it up.
What do you think it's gonna cost?
I don't even wanna say, I don't know.
Yeah, I would assume you get an insurance reduction if you have a fire hydrant down there, right?
I think,
I would think so.
Yeah, that would make sense.
I mean, it's good security for the town, I would say, to have
Yeah,
a
no, absolutely.
more adequate fire hydrant. close to
Went
the
through this
facility.
with Greg when he was on the river road and he had to go 80 more feet to have the last of the old pipe. And we said, yeah, you know, they're there, let's do it. And I'm the same way with this, we got an old pipe, let's get it fixed right now while they're there, mobilized.
Who can price that for you?
What's that?
Who can price that? I mean, I would have to give an estimate to do it now versus 2 years from now.
Well, yeah, ideally, if it wasn't something we did in-house with all the construction right there right now, I don't know if we would tackle that, but we would do a change order on the curb project.
And the fact that it's opened up, it's gotta be a less.
I mean, the road's destroyed right now,
Yeah,
the
it
whole
makes sense.
road's gotta be paved and.
I think just for the fire, I think that by the plant makes sense.
AES would give you a figure out
I
something.
mean, they could do an estimate, and then it would have to go out to Reifenberg to say, how much would you charge to do this, you know?
But while it's.
I mean, I know certain things, I have a fire hydrant, you know, they don't have to buy that. You know, I can supply that, because I have 2 brand new in the garage.
And by chance, if there's some way that you could help a little with labor or whatever.
Yeah, it's just a hard spot, because they're in and out of there so much, you know, I don't want us to be in the way of that.
Why don't you get a price, and I guess we're all in agreement, I mean, you know,
Okay.
Absolutely.
find out accordingly, please. Thank you. Anything else on that, Woody?
No, we gotta go right to the next
Over
one.
and on Elm
Okay.
Street.
He's got like the next 4, he's not gonna.
So we're
Hey, sure.
kind of the same deal on Elm Street. Elm Street's getting all torn up. The EPA is updating their lead and copper rule, and I have, the way it's talking is I believe we are going to have to come up with a list of our lead services and replacement. Now, I don't know if that's only if we're over their action level, which we're not even near it, or if it's gonna be in general, municipalities have to start getting rid of lead. Currently, right now, you can't put any parts in with any lead on. So again, there, we do have some lead service connections. Do we wanna look at now digging those up and replacing them before Elm Street gets paved? Because that'll be a total pavement, that road.
Absolutely, wanna look at it now, man, I don't wanna
Now,
start.
I'm
digging
gonna
up
have to
the
try
bed.
to figure out how many we have.
Because it doesn't make sense to put a new, you know, road in and then dig it all up, I mean, that's.
So
Yeah.
I wouldn't like that.
I put my 2 cents in, Jim, that's happened before, and I understand
We
the
should,
board's thinking because of money, but
I know,
I
but
can take Holden Avenue for example,
Yeah,
and do it, and then
Why
turn
not?
around and dig it up for
Right.
sewer project, and then we're fighting with the thing.
and I'm not
everything.
sure, I'm maybe speaking out of turn, that's $760,000. Can some of that be
Absolutely.
used at that? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's 2 water mains on that road, and one is also an older water main, it's 2 bolt cats.
You know, just check with
Again,
us.
that in itself is risky, that's usually what we have all our water breaks on. Elm Street's not as bad as a lot of the other streets, we don't seem to be over there as much. What will happen after they start coming through and excavating and moving the ground? You know, I think if you wanted to go further, rather than replacing it, is move all the houses over to the 12-inch and abandon it. The 12-inch is ductile iron.
What would be the most profit, you know, least expensive?
Well, moving them rather than putting in a whole new 8-inch distribution main would be
You guys want to get 2 different prices, or see
You know, I want
who
to-
would
I mean, we can see how construction goes, but, you know, they start running all that equipment and vibrating that ground.
Right,
But I definitely wanna get rid of anything with the lead stuff for now, for sure.
yeah.
You know, and if you can talk to Liz and see if there's any money out there too.
Yeah,
you know, anything you can do.
I
with
called
that.
her, she didn't know anything, but I know 2 other communities that have got money for it. I guess it was through the health department, it actually wasn't through.
Really?
But again, I'm gonna call Clinton County, because I've never heard Clinton County talk about it.
Good.
This was down in Essex County, they got 500,000, I think.
Get us some solid prices, some estimates, and, you know, and we're definitely gonna be on board with it.
The big thing is we gotta figure out how many we have, I guess, and
Yep.
go from there.
Who got 500,000?
I think Ticonderoga, I believe, did.
Is it a?
I just heard through talk that they had a project coming up that was estimated at that, and I heard they got money from the health department. But I've never heard Clinton County talk about it.
But
But I know
we're
too,
tasked.
they could be over the auction level,
Never hurts.
you know,
Yeah,
I think the auction level's like 15 parts per million. We're only, our lines that I've tested are only around 1 or 2, so we're way under.
yeah.
We'll get Brandy on Billy Jones as soon as he gets back.
Mel, do you have anything? you wanna-
No, just check prices.
Yeah, I'll get more information for the next meeting, maybe how many we have.
Okay,
Yeah. Thank you, Gordon.
way to stay up on it, Bart.
You betcha. We're up again. Sewer project update.
so. That's the-
So sure was the update. Dan?
Workshop date,
Workshop?
we're on 14.
I think it's a workshop day to go over the presentation we had, I believe.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I think Mike was really good there. I'm really impressed with these, this contractor too. They seem to be really.
Yeah, this is the new one, the one we had the print and all the brochures were.
Oh, yeah, that, yeah.
This is the one we're talking about. But I think we need to get together, the five of us, before we meet, when Greg and them guys get in, so we can have a little discussion among ourselves without him here, you know, because he's throwing some big numbers out there.
I'll do that.
We want to see what we want to do, I'd like to talk with you, you know more about it. But I don't care when the date is, so, you know, we definitely need, they gotta be involved with it, so whenever they want to pick a date and send it to us, we're fine with Greg, whenever they want to pick a time.
Yeah, I don't think he set a date.
I think you just said ASAP.
They want to do it soon, I guess.
I'm good for any time. You want to make a date there?
Go for it, whatever, yeah. Whatever's good for you guys.
I don't know.
I'm retired.
I don't even know what today is, man. I work every day of the week.
Well, the next meeting is the 24th. We want to do it before that.
What's a good date for you, Gordon?
I'm here for them all, pretty much.
The next, you want to do it before a meeting, or you want to do it?
I think he said it would only be a half an hour, didn't he? Would it be a quick meeting?
Yeah, we'll just go at 5 o'clock before our next meeting. When's that at?
24th.
24th?
So that'd be the 24th?
24th at 5, sound all right?
Yeah, the following weekend's a holiday.
Yeah,
You
24th,
want me to call him quick and try to narrow down how much time he needs?
Yeah.
If you maybe do something else. I'll
Yeah.
call him quick.
Sure, no problem. We go to the next one, but it's you.
Sewer project update, you just
We'll
called.
take 5.
Yeah, we're gonna have to take 5 of these.
That's your Brad.
On your, in your packet, under the sewer update,
Yes, ma'am.
there's one requisition form that needs approval by the board and then Brandy can sign it. That's the first project requisition. AES has already approved it. Mike Metcalf and I think Todd,
Are these the ones labeled 15, Pam?
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
The board needs to approve it and then Brandy can sign it when he comes in.
Okay.
So if we do it now, that way it'll be approved and USRDA will be able to,
Right.
and we can formally approve it the following year.
Yep, we knew this was coming.
Yeah, but what Liz said that we can pay, they will put the requisition into EFC and we can wait until it gets paid. So, because they've been bouncing back money about within 2 weeks.
Good.
So, if we get this approved and signed, and Brandy signs it and everybody gets it back, then by the time the next meeting rolls around with the invoices, we should be able to pay this with money that we've already gotten back.
Right.
So we're not outlaying $400,000.
Okay, how much is the total of that amount? I'm looking at all these figures in the story.
403,000,
460.
460.11 cents.
Okay.
It's been approved by everybody else, they just need your final blessing and Brandy's signature.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Any
Thank you.
questions on that? That's on the construction.
What did you say about the 24th?
You know?
Yeah.
The meeting is actually for the collection project. It's not for the,
Oh, okay.
it's to go over the added work of adding the alternate and stuff. So he said a half an hour for
Okay.
that and to talk about the water services, because I already kind of gave him a heads up. Him and I have been discussing it, about going down. So that's a good deal. It said about a half an hour.
So is he good at the 24th?
I didn't ask him that. I'll just
Let's just go with
I'll just tell them
5.
we picked the
You
24.
wanna do it at 5, so
Yeah,
that
let's look at
we
it
don't
5.
rush it, because
Yeah.
a half hour, and if you got questions, I
I
get
definitely
that.
have questions.
Yeah.
So 5 on the 24th.
Yeah,
Eat before you come to meetings too, you're an awful big curve, you didn't eat yet, did you?
yeah. Yeah, that ain't full limit.
Yeah.
No, when you're ready.
Okay. So thanks, Pam, for explaining that, and so that's what it is, the sewer project update. And as, do we need to,
We need to approve it.
do we need to vote on that, Pam, or anything? Or just as long as we approve it, right?
Yeah.
And Randy signs it, because everybody else has agreed, they've all signed off.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion for the contract application for payment number 12101-01. How's that?
Well, we'll do a resolution, right, in 2 weeks, is that what we do when we get the money? Is that what we do?
No, we just send it in and then, it'll be in next week, next
Oh,
pay,
yeah, I got it. I
next
understand.
meeting's invoice batch.
Yeah,
Right.
we'll just, yeah.
So I had,
No, I just was trying to understand.
yeah, right, yeah, thank you.
Because
Pam.
There's legal up here now, you get any of that?
I think the majority that was for all the,
Not for you, eh?
no, the easements. So I mean, some of those things we drafted them and getting them all that kind of stuff.
Good job.
That was cool.
Thank you. I believe we're at.
I made a motion. You second it?
Yeah, I don't know, sewer project update, what else you got, Courtney?
Project's going very well. According to their initial schedule they put out, they're actually ahead of schedule. I think they started a little sooner, but things are moving along very well. They're already down. They've been up Sunrise Drive. They're working their way down North Bend. Currently, I think they're at close to resident number 6, right between 6 and 8. So they're almost to TD Bank. Maiden Lane, they've already set the wet well, the valve vault, and one manhole, and they started bringing up grading. We did camera inspections last week of the 10-inch to make sure it was all clear to pull the new 6-inch inside it, and that came out fine. We didn't see any obstructions or anything that should hinder pulling the new line. The directional drillers are supposed to be here next week to start drilling the line next to the community fellowship center. I think what else we got going on? Numerous submittals I've seen they submitted for all their stuff. I mean, they're right on top of everything. Couple issues might have a little lead time issues with some of the equipment. It's taking long to get it. That could delay. The one I did notice was the pump station behind the fellowship center. There might be a delay with some of the equipment for that. We had a pre-construction meeting Friday with DOT. That went good. They have their permit, so they can move forward
Oh, that's
right away.
great.
So
Good.
you'll start, once they get the drillers here, you'll start seeing probably some more work on the DOT right away. We'll imagine probably by the end of this week, or maybe part of the next, they should be done right here in North Bend. Starting next week, there will be more activity on Elm Street, just to let people know. We'll be doing some test holes with them this week to try to locate some water mains, and then next week, they're gonna do some of the deeper structures over there and put the drillers in. Other than that, it's been going very good. I haven't heard any complaints. Actually, kudos to the residents. They brought them coffee and donuts, some of them, and
Wow, that's good.
yeah, so
That's
far
our
it's
time.
been going good. I mean, they've been dealing with a lot, but I haven't heard any complaints yet.
Pretty crappy weather.
Yeah, they've had a lot of awful weather to deal with some days, but
I was there this morning, they get that tree trunk out,
yeah,
they got it out.
got it out.
The
I
house
missed
is
it.
still standing,
Yeah, I missed it. I wanted to be there for it too.
big tree trunk.
Couple little issues of hitting water lines, but that happens when you're digging in the ground, you know. Sometimes you think the line runs straight, somebody might have jogged it out, or they hit one Friday, but You know, I told them every house is gonna have 2 water lines, because you had the old one, from the old water main, and then when Greg had a new water main put in, they put a new one in. So they got, I think, house number 6 or 8, house number 8, and, you know, they found the old water line, and they found another copper one, and they thought they were good. They started digging, well, that other copper line wasn't the active one, there was another one in the bank part of it. Yeah,
Still have a meeting Wednesday morning?
yep,
Okay.
every other week, and it's this week, 10 o'clock, okay, our third construction meeting.
This week,
Construction update
locked
meeting.
in.
I'll try to make that again.
And I gotta say though, those guys, you know, Tammy were concerned about the kids and stuff over there, they put that, I'm sure you guys noticed that big fence they put around there, so.
Yeah.
They do operate very cautious, very,
Very safety oriented.
They are,
They're-
they are.
Good, very happy with them. Good job, Artie. Thank you.
Anything else? Where are we gonna start here, Bobby?
So, we discussed the position,
Yep.
the code secretary, down to part-time. How do we want to proceed now as far as advertising for the job? And, it's not a great time to be absent a secretary, because we're pretty busy. If you look at the
Right.
agenda
Sooner
for
the
Wednesday
better.
night, we have 12 applications for the
Right.
planning board on Wednesday night.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
the most we've had since I've been here,
Good.
in 5 years.
Good, good, good.
So, just throwing it out
Sooner the
there.
better, I guess, we'll, you know, we'll.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean,
Yeah, so-
Diane, do you do the advertising, or does he do it himself? I think we ran into an issue last advertising.
Yeah, so, yeah,
I think between, we've told Bob that whatever Judy, Pam and I can do to help him during the time.
Yeah, we're talking about the advertising
Yes,
part.
so he can give us what he's looking for, and one of us will get it in the paper.
So in the interim, what I've done is I've forwarded the calls from both those lines to my cell phone. It's been working out pretty good. There's definitely a volume, I don't know what it is, but the volume is, you can't, it's very difficult to understand, you know, to hear the people. So I'm struggling through that, but, you know, so it's working out.
Do you have a job description so we can use for advertising?
I think so, yeah, I think we can certainly get.
So,
We're out there.
All right.
Bob, the other thing you can do on the, you can change the voice message on Darlene's and say, basically, don't leave a message on this line,
Yep.
and cancel that line out.
Yeah, right now, they're both, again, they're both being
You know what
forwarded
I'm
to the cell
saying,
phone.
is
Yeah,
that,
absolutely.
you know,
Yep,
that it's not capable of having limits. Don't leave a message.
yeah, yep,
I have a question, Bob, too,
Sure.
on that. I don't mean to cut you off.
go ahead.
We had the conversation about with these, you know, the 10 application. Did you get somebody to be the secretary for that meeting?
Yeah, actually, Ryan Davies, I put it out there to the planning board that I would need some help that night, because I mean, it's not just, there's other things that I do while the meeting's going on, so it'd be
Yeah.
difficult. And Ryan has offered to,
Okay.
and he'll be here that night. He'll
Okay,
be present, so, and just for the board knowledge, like I explained before, this is gonna be, the planning board meeting is gonna be kind of like a hybrid meeting. Some of them are still comfortable of staying at home, and we're gonna set it up that way so that they both have the Zoom capability, and some of the members are gonna be present, so. And I think the way Richard discussed was, Richard Williams being a planning board chairman, was certainly with this many applicants and have that many people in here, they would kind of let people hang outside, and then, okay, applicant number 1, you know, maybe I'll go out and announce, folks, anybody here to speak on that, please come in, and that way, it just, because I think it's just more, certainly with this meeting, it'll be difficult to maintain.
Good idea.
thank you.
But, yep, we'll work it
Anything else,
out.
Bob?
What's that?
Anything else?
No, I won't say that word, that B word, but,
No, I think, you know, though, I believe that we're in agreement that Pam, Diane, and Judy, you know, will give you a hand. But we want to hire somebody as soon as possible.
yeah, for sure. Thank you.
Mike?
I got an email last Thursday State Association. I was picked, lucky me, 1 out of 933 highway superintendents to be the state representative to meet with the state legislature on their Adirondack salt reduction. I am interested, I was interested working on that and was researching it anyway. The legislative body has to approve me to be on that committee, so I don't know if they even want anybody on that committee. You know,
Just don't tell them how much salt you got in the garage over there.
Yeah, so I was asked for that, so I accepted if they'll approve me, I'll be on that committee. School Street, I think we need to put that on the agenda. It's the drainage issue on the north end. Probably involves the Peru school, as Brady had brought up before. That has gotten quite a bit worse. There's some huge trees. I don't know, Matt, if we need to have an executive session at the next meeting for this. Bob and I did call the county. Looks like on an old map, there's a 50-foot right-of-way that was supposed to go over what is now Bloomfield Drive, but was never conveyed. Obviously, the school drain pipe, new one goes there. I was working for Fuller when that was installed. There's no argument there, but they suggested we have that surveyed before we even begin we're talking about who's responsible for that. I think we're gonna have to spend the money. We're gonna end up somewhere down the line with lawyers involved, for sure.
What do you have there, Bob?
This is a map from the Buttonwood subdivision dated in 2001. And it shows that School Street extending down, and it just says future 50-foot right-of-way.
How much?
Future 50-foot right-of-way.
On the other side of the creek.
It goes
Essentially, yeah.
It will go right to.
Anybody that's ever seen that, I mean, that would be a bridge there, right? I mean, that's just
That's huge.
it's yeah. I don't know if you guys.
Yeah, no.
So, Royce, did you say suggested we had it surveyed?
Survey it because it's gonna come down to lawyers, basically. I don't know how else to say it. Arguing who's responsible for that washout. Unless, Matt, you've got a different vision.
No, I mean, somebody will probably have to talk about it, but I don't seem like I'm very familiar with this issue.
Oh, with the ditch that's running,
There's a future 50. I haven't called Jeff yet.
their drainage from the school is wearing away the side of the road.
Oh, okay.
It comes off the roof drains,
Side of the creek.
side of the creek, but it's starting to affect the bank.
Well, we know the drainage issue starts at the school, the excess water
Yeah,
starts at the
it
school.
takes all the rough drains for the school. The problem is, with this problem, I tried to come into it because I was working for Fuller at the time, but we've had several different school superintendents, several different maintenance superintendents over there. So they're out of the loop on what actually happened. I know that pipe was put in, and then within a couple of years, somebody else took over there. They unhooked the roof drains and it flooded that high school over there. So I know that happened. But it ended up got tied back in because that's why that pipe was put in. It handles all the roof. That's what a roof area of that high school. So.
What do we think the survey is gonna do?
What's that?
Somebody mentioned getting a survey, what do we think?
Yeah,
the
the
survey is
county,
gonna do?
because we gotta see where the property lines are, who actually owns that. It may go back
Right on the
to
edge.
Don Swain, maybe was the developer. We're not sure,
Right, okay. We're trying to figure out where the washout's occurring, who owns the banks.
but there's a huge street again that's leaning, it's undermined, it's gonna go down. And it's eating its way back into, I believe it's Kim Duck, if I'm saying it right, property.
Yeah.
But
What does
there's-
the current superintendent's attitude is?
It's a pretty serious issue that definitely has to be dealt with, one way or another.
But he, in the end, I want to be a team player, but he seems to make it or imply that it's a town issue and not a school issue. Fuller put that in, and from me looking at it, and Mike, I don't think it's a town issue. I
No.
think that they put it in, and they actually wanted the town to, fix it.
So
Yeah,
are they draining water from the roof right into this creek, and that's what?
down
the
there,
level pops up and.
it's probably 30 foot deep, it's washed now.
I know that's,
Go ahead.
I know, I called the DEC because when Brandy and I were involved here a few months ago.
Yeah.
That is not a CT stream, it's not a classified trout stream. So if it was, they would get involved and it'd be more serious, but it's not a classified trout stream, so.
And I don't get that either.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
Yeah, yeah.
Got that little stream up on Peasledale.
It's a trout stream.
That's a trout stream.
Yeah.
I don't know how they get that, but, I mean, Mike, where do we stand with that? I mean, we've been going back and forth with the superintendent and stuff, and actually, there's been no repairs done, correct?
No, and I can't, and they wanted to do a joint deal, but I can't spend money, again, as I was saying with Mr. St. Clair's. But we gotta figure out who owns, because it's gonna be a safety issue. It is a safety issue
Yeah,
now.
the fence is
The
down.
fence is down, the whole thing. So the last thing we need is a kid walking in there or whatever.
Well, we've got to be able to link it to the water coming from the school.
That's not hard.
Oh, it ain't hard, the pipe's sitting right there.
Yeah.
It goes right up through.
What's a dime?
So is our best thing to go forward with
Well, so I think a survey makes sense, and then some sort of an engineering study to show how much water, you get a half an inch of rain, how much water's coming out of this pipe, what it's doing to the level of that stream, so we've got some facts about what the actual, every storm that has an inch of water, or half an inch of water, you're getting this much more erosion. That's what we need to know, because the school, riparian issues, water issues are basically, if your water runoff affects another person's property, you're 100% liable for it. If you've done something to change the water runoff, and obviously a pipe can do that, the school should be 100% liable for any damage it's causing. That's pretty black letter. So it'd be nice to know how much water's coming out of that pipe, and then how much the stream comes up based on that, and then what it's doing.
And I think they're gonna be shocked, because if you see by the tennis courts, with the new rules, you have to put a retention pond. This does not, it's just coming on. And that's the issue, it just runs, of course, it's on a steep slope where it's down, and it's just eating itself. Now it's eating itself, plus it's not only widening, it's eating itself back, it's undermining.
Is that anything that you can come up with the numbers on? Just being a water guy?
Gonna be involved with it.
It's a pipe and it's water,
I got enough on my plate, we just turn your chair that way.
It's a pipe and water, man.
Well, it's
Should you get Biggs involved in it?
Siri.
What's that?
You have to get Biggs involved and tell them to know.
Oh, God, when Mike was
Not water.
Mike, what year did Fuller put that in?
Oh my God, I'm not even sure, it was, I'm on my 12th year here, and I had 17 with Fuller, so.
I was working at Monahan's at the time when they put all the roofs on, and Bernier and Carr was the engineer at the time, and I'm sure they got, normally they're 4-inch roof drains that they put in, depending on, the size of the thing. So I'm sure Bernier and Carr, or I'm sure the school must have it somewhere in their files.
Let's get a survey done and find out what an engineering study would be to figure out water that coming out of that pipe and what it's doing. Just figure out the cost of what that would be, then we can decide if we're going to make that step too.
Get Matt involved in that too, because he did not know about that, because, the superintendent's been quite insistent that it's our issue. Okay, Mike?
Okay, and I only have one other thing, I hate to bring it up, but.
No.
Andrew approached me today about the handbook, and I talked to him, and Andrew talked, but it's overpay, kind of caught in the gray area.
Yep.
His pay, we adopted the handbook, his pay was lower than what the new pay is gonna be as May 1st.
Yep.
Saying it right? Anyway, I got a guy that's probably gonna retire this summer, so if he retires and I hire somebody, the new guy's gonna actually start higher than Andrew.
Yep.
Instead of changing that all, if you read the back of the handbook, the town board can change anything at any time. So I think the easiest way to me, and it's up to you guys, is just change the date of that May 1st for that new starting pay, put it to wherever Andrew's pay would equal that, and then that would solve everything. So his pay wouldn't change, but we could just change the date of when that started, because he's the only one that's caught it.
But wasn't he the guy that you just recently hired, and, we said if we waited a month or so?
Yeah, and I think what happened is we did that step, you know,
Yeah.
we came
We
steps,
took
he
three
got
steps,
in there. But with the pay increases, I think that's what we're, the percentage,
Last meeting though, Matt said, when we got to this point, everybody needs to be brought to that level.
It's not, did we discuss
I'm
that?
pretty sure you said that at the last
I know you
discussion.
talked about Andrew Bizga, the court clerk.
If he said anybody that,
Okay, so
we talked about Andrew, because he was the newest hire. And then I mentioned Andrew from Highway was in the same boat, and that's when it said that everybody would be brought up to that.
Yeah, I think that's what we discussed.
Yeah.
So I think we did agree on that.
So he's making 18 something, he wants 1975.
no, he's not complaining, don't,
No, I'm
he's not
just,
a complainer, he just asked.
it's just on here,
Yeah.
he sees it.
And I didn't know if, because the handbook was adopted on May 1st, he was caught under that, and he would stay at that. But then if somebody retires for me, which could very well happen, that's why I brought it up, I just,
Right, but he still gets the second step in a year. I don't know, I guess if we should start them all at the same.
I think what we talked about, once the handbook gets adopted, everybody moves to the step they'd be.
Okay, I think that's what it was too, so I think he should get to the 1975.
So as of May 1st is when I start paying him 1975.
what I don't think is a problem, if I'm correct, being, because it'd be just his payroll anyway, he wouldn't have got it up to that point. It
So
would
do
just
we
start
have a
this
motion
payroll,
on
so I
that
think,
or anything, or-
actually, it's gonna work out. That's all.
We discussed it, yeah.
Right, just that if it's hours before May 1st, he gets paid the 18 whatever.
Correct.
As of
Right.
May 1st.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
May 1st, he gets the.
And it's just payroll, so I think
Okay,
it.
sounds good, Mike.
Okay.
Thank you, Pat.
No, that's it, I got it.
Mr. Norwalk.
You don't wanna hear from me.
Yes, I do, I always want to hear from you.
What about candy bar?
I'm getting sick of being a referee for these town people in here that can't get along. I'm
Are
tired
you
of the
just
job.
right here?
I'm tired of trying to make people get along. That's not my dream job. Maybe when you hire a new cold person, you get her to the job. I'm telling you, I'm tired. The end is near.
Which town people? People employed by it, the town of Peru, or town residents?
Town residents, people
Oh.
that live in this.
Oh, I got you.
If you look at the reports, everything.
I looked at it.
People have a few.
You're a mayor's
I'm
counselor.
try to fix it, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna do it. I'm tired of it.
Well, you gotta realize when you get them calls from the same people over and over, call up, Randy,
I
make
walked
him,
on one tonight where two dogs were barking steady. They never barked at me. I walked in the yard, they came to me, the guy going across the street and made a complaint. I thought they were gonna go after me. He done something to them dogs.
Absolutely.
They went right off. As soon as they seen him, they started. Now I gotta go over there tonight when I leave here and get a hold of the guy that's got my dog and tell him, this is it. We're gonna be in court if you don't shut him up. And I don't see where they're making it, it's just this one guy. He
yeah.
don't even live on the same damn street.
But is he gonna file a complaint, Dave?
Yes, he's doing a deposition, getting it notarized, and then I gotta do it. I'll give the guy with the dog a chance, I'll tell him, get something to shut the dog up. If I get another complaint, we're gonna go see the judge, and there's nothing I can do about it.
Right.
Tired of playing games with these people.
Yeah, you're doing a great job, Dave, I'm sorry you're running into this crime.
What's cracked up? I don't go anywhere, I don't do it. I get freaking line and class every day, I get a call. You know what I do? I'm down to the freaking line, I'm going back to work. I'm getting tired, I'm telling you. Been at it for 8 years. Almost over.
Well, we're not gonna be able to replace it, you can't give up.
That's it.
Hang in there, you know, you're gonna get one or two that are constant pain in the butts, that's for sure. And it looks like you have about 5 or 6 from the reports I read, so,
I document everything, you're gonna see it.
yeah, I know. Damage huge. Doing a great job, Dave, that's all I can say. I hope you can hang in there.
Maybe I can eliminate this one if I give the guy the option, if I get another call.
You get people together and just shake hands or something, you know,
Right
give
here,
it up,
I'm
man.
working with him. I can see it in him, when he walked across that road, and it's all he decided.
Bring them out in the middle of the road, let them settle it then. Man on wall, why don't we model?
Nice dog. They never bark at you.
Yeah. Keep the dogs out of it, let the guys
I
settle.
said, where are you? The dog whisperer? I said, no.
All right, my man, hang in there. I'll help you anytime I can to get hold of me.
We don't answer his phone.
He answers that phone.
Thank you, Dave. Anything else, bud?
We got it.
Got it covered? Courtney?
Not too much. Let's talk about the sewer project. Valcor, we do have the new dechlor vault in. We do have some bugs with it we're trying to work out as far as with the chlorination and dechlorination. Hopefully, in the next month, we can get that hashed out. We're gonna do some added testing to see what's actually going on. The water plant, we've had numerous issues with the phone line up there, and probably for as long as I've lived with the town, or worked with the town. Every so often when you get a bad rainstorm, we lose the phone up there, and it's happened twice in the last week, so I asked Verizon to see if we can get switched over to fiber. That's okay that I did that, but with that phone line down, we have no emergency notification if something goes on at the plant, and we were down 2 days in a row, with nothing. So we gotta constantly watch the computers or.
According to John, Verizon's got a lot of time on their hands, so.
Yeah, the copper on that road has been an issue, like I said, 20 years. Rainstorm, you could hardly hear on it, and you lose it, so we definitely need to do something.
All that equipment is set up properly for that, let's get it.
Absolutely, we get that switched over and be more reliable.
Thank you.
Other than that, we've just really busy. We're doing what we can with the parks. The grass is growing like crazy. I'm still down on the weight. Had an employee education last week, but we're chipping away at what we can. We started doing the cleanup and some of the landscaping. We still got more to do. I got 100 yards of playground mulch that we have to put out, but we are still short-staffed and pretty busy. We chip at it when we can.
Anything on the gazebo stones or anything? You looking into anything on that?
Actually, I have something.
My man.
On the, we're talking about the heavy vehicle?
No,
Yeah,
No, I just brought up that if you do get this COVID money, I think that would be a good place to spend some of it, is down at the gazebo.
It's still safe with the stones falling, and that's.
There's some loosened up, we're gonna have to either take them away or
Okay.
try to move them down.
Okay.
But it's definitely gonna need some
But I
attention.
still see a lot of people going over there, I drive by if we do get a sunny day.
It will need some attention.
Okay. Thanks, Bart. Doing a good job, you guys.
Thanks, buddy. All the lights in, Courtney?
Follow up.
LED lights there, did they?
No, no.
Can't be, Randy would have told us.
Huh?
Randy would have told us.
No, I see them putting some in, correct me if I was wrong, right?
Straight lights?
Yeah.
Yeah, they've changed quite a few, but I don't know where they are.
Yeah, okay. No,
I think Randy was talking with them.
Okay.
Randy's a light
Your
man.
Facebook. FaceTime. Anything else?
No, I guess I'll keep it short.
Yeah, what?
No, not a thing.
You're good?
I'm good.
Good. Thank you for all your hard work.
It's all good, tax season's over.
There you go.
Blackwood's Mills is going strong tonight.
I got on. How are you, man? Good now. So I guess we are fine there. So public comments on agenda items only, John?
The only thing, that insurance person that recommended those changes, who does he represent?
The town's insurance.
The town insurance carrier.
The town insurance.
Oh, the insurance
carrier.
carrier, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
which would be Norman. Okay. Guess we can go to, need a motion to pay the bills?
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Bruno. I'll second it. Wait, hey, Bob, I'm sorry. Hold on before I do that, Bob. You have something about Haywood Mason.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
so we had an application for the planning board to have that community market down there.
Yeah, right, yeah.
So the county had a chance to look at it because
Okay.
with 239M, they had to look at it. And their comment was, that was part of that flood,
Yeah.
and that no permanent structure could be placed on that. So, the county planning board is aware of all that money, that buyout money that was.
Okay, so, but like the farmer's market, that.
Yeah,
none of
that's
that
fine, but I'm sorry, when you said gazebo, I thought we might have been talking about
No,
replacing
no,
that.
there's no, and, Adele did tell me that too.
Yep.
They can't be knocked up there permanent.
That's right.
No, our stage is gonna be on wheels.
Is it?
It is
I
now.
thought Adele said no, if water can flow through it.
Oh, there you go, I like that idea.
That's what.
Put it on stilts.
What I thought she told me is that water can flow through, like the dog park's permanent,
Yeah,
but water can flow through it.
So we put it on stilts.
but she has talked to a guy too to see what we could or couldn't do.
We'll put it on
I'd still
stilts.
like to pursue something to have a covering and have the, have those down there, the concert.
Well, attach something.
There'll be a house in Rhode Island is on stilts by the ocean.
Yeah.
There they are. 6 feet of water goes between my buddies. Is that it?
Okay, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Bob.
Yep.
I already gave the motion.
Okay. I second it.
A resolution authorizing the post-audit payment of certain claims, bills, and invoices of the town. Whereas the town board has reviewed and audited the following claims, bills, and invoices for services rendered and goods provided to the town in May 2021. From town approved vouchers in May 2021, 202100474 through and including 202105330, abstract dated May 7th, 2021, for the dollar amount totaling $73,249.21. Of that, $11,324.04 was wired, credit cards, and prepaid, and $61,925.17 is remaining to be paid. And whereas the town board finds said claims, bills, and invoices to be acceptable in form and reasonable in amount, now therefore be it resolved that payment of the aforementioned claims, bills, and invoices is approved, and the supervisor being hereby is authorized to make such payment, and be it further resolved that this resolution shall take effect immediately. Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Mr. Irwin?
Yes.
Mr. Douglas?
Yes.
Make the motion and turn to executive session.
Okay, that's what I was asking. Thank you. Mr. Bruno, Mr. Irwin. Okay, this is a personnel issue, and there will be no decision made. Get to. Thank you. Pam, you put all that stuff in there?
What?
You put that stuff in there?